Hey folks, welcome back to Pokémon XD, here on the Dark Isle, and this will probably be my last recording session for the main part of the game, because we only got 4 fights left, 3 of them are trainer fights. One of them is really out of place, this next one. I don't really know why they put it here instead of earlier, because, you know, we've been surrounded by boss fights here, but here we just got a random peon. I don't... Seems so out of place. I don't know. Colax. They didn't give Colax a Snorlax. I can't explain that either. This person just is an illogical being. Got a decent team, varied in type and strategy and whatnot. But, the main difficulty I've run into is not killing the Shadow Pokemon, because the Shadow Pokemon is really weak and sucks. Why are they giving us a sucky Shadow Pokemon this late in the game? I don't know. I don't really understand anything about this trainer. Did some training off screen, got people to level 51, plus some just leftover experience because I was doing it in Coliseums rather than Battle. Well, Battle got the really weird damage spike and is on, oh god, probably for the best, actually, considering my difficulties earlier on. Frost dead. And let's bring in Briar, actually, is a very good candidate for this. Soaks up the Earthquakes very nicely, which I will be utilizing against Donphan. Mirror match, of course. I don't think there's going to be much of a contest of who's going to win. I'm sorry, I just feel no tension with this fight, because it's like those fights that we were going through a lot earlier on for most of Dark Isle. Very little threat, just kind of going through, menial. No plot significance. Anywho, the Shadow Pokemon this time around is Shadow DUGTRIO. Might have mentioned that already. Very fragile, which is the main difficulty in snagging it, because it can die pretty easily. It's also very quick, but that's kind of DUGTRIO's gimmick. Yeah, this thing is kind of not threatening. I mean, I could talk about how DUGTRIO is a really stupid concept and the logistics of just putting 3 Diglett together. But I won't, because that's boring and stupid and overused. Speaking of which, is DUGTRIO overused? I haven't paid attention to the metagame for a while, as most of you probably know. I'm going to check if DUGTRIO is overused here. No, it's underused. Gotcha. I know, it's really getting fast and has decent attack. Plus Sandvale or Arena Trap. I don't think it gets Sandvale in 3rd generation, though. It can be very useful, especially in-game. Anyway, through there is a major boss fight. Want to go back and heal and save and whatnot. Even if you don't think you need it, just go for it. Do it. Unfortunately, I don't really have a good sort of anything to put in the last half of this episode. Next episode is going to be a big important boss fight. It's going to take up the whole segment because it deserves a whole segment. Overall, there's nothing I could really insert in here because at the time of this recording I've already beaten the game and I don't have time to record the brief amount of post-game sequences that appear once you beat the game. So I can't really go do Battle Bingo or Battle CDs or something to fill up the time. I really don't have time to do any video editing or anything right now. I'm kind of crunched. So, I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of my basic impressions about Pokemon XD, whether it's as good, better, equal quality to Pokemon Colosseum. I'll say it right now. XD is a much better game than Colosseum. In terms of sheer mechanics, it basically takes everything that was introduced in Colosseum and was a hassle, and then improves it to make it not a hassle. It increased the number of Shadow Pokemon by a good 30, added some non-Shadow Pokemon, although I think they could have done a bit better in that regard. Starts you off from a lower level, so you actually like raise things in a much. It feels more like a typical Pokemon game, which is sort of a good thing and sort of a bad thing. I mean, most games start you off at a low level. That's kind of it's a tradition, and while I respect Colosseum for breaking that tradition, it's not really the best way to do it. In terms of challenge, they're both pretty challenging. Like, they're Pokemon games still. They're meant for children, but Colosseum I would say is harder because the shadow mechanics are not perfectly worked out. There's less variety in shadow moves. The Shadow Rush is a bit more annoying because you can hurt yourself. Purification is a much bigger pain in the ass in Colosseum, and that's one thing that XD really improved on, and I am very glad that it did so. But in terms of, say, environments, soundtrack, characters, I really have to put the two games equally. I said, oh boy, XD, at the beginning of the playthrough, I said, oh boy, XD, lots of new, cool environments that aren't completely desert. And, well, that's sort of true, but we hardly ever go back to Gideon Port. So Dark Isle is a volcano, which is a bunch of rocks, which isn't much better. And all the other new locations are basically industrial, like the Shadow Pokemon Lab and the Cypher Key Layer, they're all industrial. It's not much of a change. So I can't really give it much credit on innovating the environment. So I love volcanoes, don't get me wrong, but it's still a bunch of rocks. Music, also equally good. I like the soundtracks of both games. I really couldn't pick one over the other, except I'll admit XD's Mirror B theme is better. It's just more my kind of music. As much as I love the energetic, the Colosseum theme, XD theme is very groovy and overall a lot more pleasant to listen to for long extended periods of time. And then, plot, it's very basic. It's a Pokemon plot. Stop the evil organization. We just have gyms removed from the equation. I can't really say one's better than the other. I mean, sure, in Colosseum you had motivation because you were an ex-snag and snag a member. But here your father died while attempting to create a machine to stop the Shadow Pokemon, so it's kind of like familial lineage, and that's an equal motivation, I'd say. I mean, it's hardly overly expressed, but it still works. So, in terms of, like, creativity and overall appeal, I'd say the two games are relatively equal. In terms of sheer mechanics, XD beats out Colosseum, and as such, XD is a better game. And I don't know many people who will disagree with me. I know that some people will, inevitably, but that's my view, and that's the best way to fill up time in this segment. So I will see you guys next time.